Well, I am so excited to have you here, Elaine. Ladies, thank you for joining our little behind the scenes conversation on the Revitalized Womanhood podcast. I'm joined with Elaine Glass, and I'm actually really excited because you came into my life at the most. Isn't the universe just cool that way? Just the most perfect time. And your book, I started reading it instantly. You sent me the Audible gift, which was incredible. And I started reading it instantly, and within 10 minutes had sent it to 3 friends and said, "This is what you absolutely need to listen to. You need to hear it." Because, when you hear it from a friend or you hear it from your husband or you hear it from sometimes it doesn't fall the right way, You're like, "Okay, yeah, I can understand that." But then when you're listening to it on your own terms, it just clicks. And you can kind of like put yourself in that place of where you need to be because it's your mind filtering all the information, right? It's not Gina's mind filtering it for Kelly. It's not Elaine's mind filtering it for Gina. It's my mind filtering it. And so it's pulling out the things that I need in that moment. So thank you. Long way around saying thank you for that. And why don't you? I would love for you to introduce yourself to my listeners.
Thank you for having me on, Gina. I am really excited to be here with you today because, yeah, I mean, in midlife, we are really needing to quiet the noise. And about myself, I have transformed myself in midlife in ways that I could never have dreamed of. And it all started with my life crashing down around me. And I think sometimes, unfortunately, that's what has to happen when we have a shift. And at the time, I was going through a really difficult divorce. I had made the most difficult decision to leave my husband because it was a very unhealthy relationship. I had two small, my boys were 8 and 10 at the time, and my life was just chaotic, and I was getting sick, not only physically with autoimmune issues, but mentally and emotionally. I was just out of reality. I could not make a good decision for myself. And I thought, I am only in my early 40s. How am I going to raise these children? How am I going to make a living? Like, my whole life just overnight, it seemed, changed. And so I went on a quest to get healthy, mind, body, and soul. And here I am now living the life of my dreams. But it took a long time. And I made a note during this whole time of this last decade. I would just write in my journal what I was doing, what I was feeling. And little did I know that I would actually get a published book out of that. But here I am, helping a lot of people. So it's very rewarding. A lot of people in midlife, almost entering 60 years old that I am, are thinking about retiring. But for me, it's like I feel like I'm just starting. And it's really exciting to feel that vitality. But it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I love it. I can feel your energy from this. I love it. It's so it's almost you try so hard to put it into words to help other people understand something that you are feeling. And it's one of those things that you you can't understand it until you feel it yourself. Do you know? I was explaining kind of what you're saying exactly to my community, and I just had them close their eyes. It was kind of a visualization tool I was using, and had them close their eyes and kind of said, "What if this was your life and you woke up excited instead of tired? You woke up like looking forward to the things you had to do that day. You were energized and happy, and you knew that the things in your life were the things that you put there, the decisions that you were making for your day were there intentionally. And so you felt free and weightless to live your day, right? To go through your day." And I did this visualization and I says, "Okay, open your eyes. Like, what did that look like for you? What did that feel like for you?" And one of my ladies says, "That's a fairy tale." And I said, it is a fairy tale, but I'm living it. Like, that is what it is. It is absolutely, I love that you said it's a fairy tale, because I know in her mind she's thinking that's impossible. It's not reality. But I'm like, I love it, because now I want you to relate that to it's possible. People are doing it. People aren't just full of crap saying it. Like, I'm not getting anything from her being able to live this life. I'm not getting anything by saying, uh, do what I do. This is my life. You want my life. Be better than me. She knows that's not what I'm saying, right? But that feeling that comes when you have put your life in a way specifically, intentionally, like what you're saying, and then the freedom that comes from that is just, you want everybody to feel it, right?
It's our birthright. It's our birthright to live this life out to perfection. It's our birthright to feel peace.
Wow. Yeah, that's
So
beautiful.
we've put so much in the way of that. And by midlife, we've had, loss. We've had to experience deep grief, maybe the loss of a friend or a loss of a parent, or a loss of, could be a great disappointment in our life. And so life gets heavy. So yes, we all want to feel this peace. We all want people to feel this vitality that we're expressing. But how do you move the heaviness out of the way in order to feel it?
Yeah. And
And
that's my question for you. How do you do it? This book, your book, and why after 10 minutes I sent it to 3 of my friends. How do you do it? What was your step-by-step plan here?
well, it it turned out to be a step-by-step plan, as you know, because the book,
Right, right. But when you're living it, it's not.
yeah, it feels like you're lost. You don't really know where you're going to end up, but you trust that each step, that each action you take, you're starting to feel better. You're starting to feel stronger. And the very first step that I took to relieve the stress of my life was to nurture my body. And that in the book, as you know, is the first path.
Yeah.
And not just, lifting the heavy weights and running marathons like I used to in my 20s and 30s. Now it's more of a slower, more caring, more nurturing, more self-compassionate way of caring for our bodies. So that would be exercise-wise, Pilates, yoga, Tai Chi. Um, it's also not looking away anymore of things that are causing your body to not feel well. So that could be mismanaged hormones. That could be mismanaged medications. That could be the food that you're eating. I mean, now is the time in midlife to really start looking at your health. There are so many resources out there for us to know how to really nurture our body. And that would be the first thing that would feel heavy, or let's just say a big consideration. And the big considerations are the noise of our life. So how do we nurture our body, take care of our body in midlife, and erase and just not be holding the heaviness of an unhealthy body.
Right.
These are all the ways to get lighter so that we can actually tune in to what we really are really wanting, and that is our our deepest creative juices that only come from when we connect to ourselves in the deepest way, which I say in the book, how we can listen to our soul's voice. But it's been loud and we can't hear it. And now is the time to get quiet and actually hear it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and I think with the what you're explaining with midlife, tell me if I'm wrong. You're thinking more of an age category. But for me and my purposes in my community, I define midlife as a big change, something that's changing or something that you'd like to change. So for me, it was in my 20s, it was the recession. And I had to look at my life in a specific way and say, I don't want to live that way anymore. I mean, now I have no choice, but how do I want to continue to live my life? And then again, after having not just 1 or 2 or 3 kids, it was having postpartum depression after my 3rd kid and looking at my life saying, how do I want to continue to live my life? Those were the times that I'm defining midlife for me. And those exactly fit what you're saying is, I think I actually just said this to a gal on Instagram. She doesn't know me. She's adorable. She's this young mom, and she's this kind of voice for Utah moms. She's this funny comedian voice for Utah moms. She's hilarious. But she said that she's like a normal mom and just busy, 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 and I'm doing this and I'm too busy to go get myself a massage. I've probably only ever gotten a massage maybe 4 times in my life. I'm too busy. I'm doing this, that, and this, that. And I'm like, stop saying you're too busy. I'm like cringing over here, just like, stop saying you're too busy. Stop. You're not prioritizing your health. You're not prioritizing your well-being. And so what she was saying is now all of a sudden I have this horrible shoulder tension and back aches. And of course she's hauling around her 3 kids and doing all the things, right? But she's never prioritized her health and her care. And I sent her a message, which is probably going to come across as very but I was like, please, you are deserving. It's your birthright. You are deserving of putting your needs before everybody else's. Because what happens is, like with autoimmune, it's like God's going to sit you down. If you don't sit you down, something is going to sit you down, and it's not going to be on your terms, right? You're going to get the flu. You're going to get an autoimmune disease. You're going to have horrible back pain and issues that now, instead of just a, say, monthly massage would have helped, or Pilates, or tightening your core, being really good with your core, yoga, instead of just doing that and actually having something that you enjoy and love and brings you peace and has so many dominoing effects, you are required to put that time into a massage, and required to put that time into physical therapy, and required to adjust your diet, and required to, right? It's like, it's, why can't we see that when we're in it? When we're in it, why can't we see that the whole thing would be so much easier if at first we would have just put the time in where it needed to be?
Well, that's very complex. In that, I mean, the answer is it is complex. But it can also be very simple. The complexity comes from, who is she living with? What's her environment like? Does she have a supportive partner? That's saying like, I'll take care of the kids, go and, also society is telling her like, you must suffer,
Mhm.
you must,
Yeah.
you must sacrifice everything as a mother.
Yeah, you're a
Um,
mom, you're a martyr. This is what's
yeah,
happening.
yeah. And really the solution is so simple.
Mhm.
It's like you said, the deserve level. And for me, it was literally like, and I hope she stays healthy and I hope everyone stays healthy. But the problem is usually for women, it's our health that goes and suffers first until we decide, okay, something's got to change.
Right.
And for me, that was literally having to get into a quiet place because I feel like in midlife, we really change our environment and we don't want the noise anymore. And we really crave the quiet. I mean, I have working moms, professional working moms who come to me for retreat, and all they want is a silent retreat. That's all they want. It's like a Calgon take me away, that ad years ago.
Yeah.
They just they just want to be taken away. They just want to, it's like women who nurture need to be nurtured.
Yeah.
Like, who takes care of you? And, I'm like, no one's coming to rescue you. No one's coming to take care of you, unless you reach for it.
Yeah.
And so I found my quiet, as you know, from reading the book, at a retreat center, that had a labyrinth. And if anyone knows what labyrinth walking is, it's a meditative walking, tool. And when you get into a meditative state, your brain waves shift and you can actually get into such a restful state that you can connect with your soul and start to create from a truer place than you might be now.
I like that you actually when I was reading that part of the book, because I'm listening to this part, I mean, all of my books. I listen to my books with my daughter. We go on a walk every morning and I go and do that's my workout. She's too young to go to the gym. So, and when my husband's busy, we've got too many things. So our walk, that's what we do. And that's when I go listen to my books. And at that part, at that moment of your book, I was listening to you and you going through this spiritual shift in the Labyrinth, which we have a Labyrinth here and we have one up at Bonneville Salt Flats, I believe. I mean, so I'm familiar, and I'm thinking to myself, how can I make this connect with a bigger audience? How can I make this land for my community, right? Because they don't have a Labyrinth or they don't have how can I make them see that in your case, the Labyrinth is, in my case, my walks with my daughter, right? It's anywhere that you can feel quiet, right? Even because sometimes I don't listen to books. Sometimes I just listen to the trees and I just listen to my feet hitting the pavement and right? It's sometimes I can do that. And honestly, sometimes for me, it's on a spin bike. Sometimes for me, I have or the treadmill. I had one of my most incredible breakthroughs on a cruise ship in the middle of the South Pacific on a treadmill. And I was listening to the 5 love languages. And it was one of those moments when all of a sudden something in my subconscious was allowed to unlock and it just came spilling out. And I was just like sobbing on this treadmill. And these poor like Europeans all around me were probably just like, you know, but so I was actually took that very much to heart when you were explaining your release and your spiritual awakening in this labyrinth, because I wanted to let everyone know that it doesn't have to be in a specific place like that. You can find that for yourself anywhere and allow yourself that. But that's the key, is you have to allow yourself and be open to the messages that you're sending out to whatever, to God, the universe, whatever. Your heart is asking for answers for things, right? But usually we're just like, okay, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. Then I have to run here. Then I have to drop off this kid. Then I have to pick this up. Then I have to go to the grocery store. Then my husband needs me, right? When women, I used to be one of these women where my value and my worth came from saying all of the things on my to-do list. That was my value. That was my worth, because I have all of these things I'm doing. See, I'm proving that I'm worthy. I'm proving that I'm deserving. I'm proving that I'm this. And it's like, that has nothing to do with it. That's just proving that I can have a lot of balls in the air and juggle them at the same time. I'm a good multitasker. That's all that is. But what it really says to me now is, oh my gosh, I'm just exhausted hearing that. You don't want to be quiet. You don't want to hear or face the things in your life that are really needing attention from you, really wanting you to look at them closer. And so instead, chuck a to-do on top of it so that you don't have to sit and listen to it. Did you find that when you started this journey of slowing down, getting quiet, that you were uncomfortable with yourself, being alone with yourself?
Fortunately, no, because I would probably say I'm more of an introvert anyway. So being alone feels comfortable. Having said that, though, when you do get quiet, there can be things that come up that are confronting, but I know that I can do hard things. I know because I'm a mother. I was a single mom for over a decade, so I know that I'm resilient. I know I can do hard things and face hard things, and I know that you and your audience also can. But initially, what I heard in the labyrinth, which let me just preface this by saying a labyrinth is a 4,000-year-old ancient spirituality tool. And it's not, if you were to look at it as a formation in the ground, it's not there to confuse you like a maze. It's one way in and one way out. And it really is a metaphor for walking to the center of the labyrinth, which is walking to the center and connecting to your center, to your life force. And really that's what I was yearning for, was I had been so depleted for so many years that I was really needing to build up this life force again within me. And so I'm sorry, I forgot your question.
No, I was asking if you were uncomfortable at first,
Yes.
just being alone with yourself.
So the very first messages when I got quiet that I heard in the labyrinth, and this will happen 100% of the time. If you do go walk a labyrinth, and there are thousands of labyrinths around the world, and especially in the United States. If you go to labyrinthlocator.org, you'll find one by you. The very first messages I heard, Gina, were very loving, very supportive. At first, I was like, who is that? What? That felt so real. Where did that come from? And it was my soul's voice. I had gotten quiet enough. I had gotten my brain into a state of total relaxation. So that I began to hear these messages. For instance, I began to hear things like, you are not alone. I'm here with you. I was like, that is crazy. Okay. I mean, that feels very loving and supportive. That's not scary. I'll receive that. And when I left the labyrinth that day, when I heard that message, I wrote it down in my journal. But when I turned on my car radio, the Michael Jackson song with the same lyrics was playing. You are not
incredible.
alone. I'm
Yay.
here with you. So it's like, okay, I got it. I'm all in. Whatever I hear, I'm here. And so it really, I went back then for real guidance and direction in a time in my life that felt very out of control and chaotic. And I trusted what I heard. And at times it felt like I was going a little crazy walking in circles in the desert. But science has proven that labyrinth walking is just like a meditative state, and that you can access all the creative juices that your soul is just craving to express when you do walk these labyrinths. But like you said, if you don't have a labyrinth, near you, you can do finger walking labyrinths. There's a diagram in my book, as you know, where you can actually trace it. It's all in the way that your brain waves settle. And that's why it's so calming to walk or to trace it. But like you said, just even in your walks in nature, you can access this, because midlife is like, this is our time now. What are we going to create? We've already created the most amazing things, and that could be an amazing, impactful career we've had, or putting healthy children out into the world, which I believe is my true purpose. And so now is our time, though, to innovate, to create, to fill up in terms of our wisdom. Forget about the busyness, forget about the to-do list. At midlife, you want to fill up with newfound wisdom. And that's why this time is so exciting. It's so exciting. But there's some work you have to do to get to these states. It's not hard, but the rewards are absolutely amazing. Amazing.
How do you help convince women that slowing down is more productive than doing more? Because that is exactly opposite of what we've been trained, right? Is what we've been brainwashed. The propaganda is you need to do more. You're expected to do more. And I think it's just because we live in a time where we can do anything, literally anything that we want to do. And so being the women, incredibly strong women that we are, we're like, oh, I can do it. Okay, I can do that too. Okay, let me just move a couple things around and I can do that too. No. But it's like, how do you prove to women that slowing down is more productive?
Well, I mean, I really take them on retreat, and we go through the 7 paths of the book. The first path, nurture your body. How are you moving your body? How are you nurturing it? Second path, what's your environment look like? Is it healthy? Are the people in your life healthy? Do you have clutter all around? The third path is the path of the mind. What are you ruminating? How are you clearing out thoughts? The fourth path is your emotions. What stored emotions, whether from trauma, unprocessed trauma, um, are stuck in your body. There's really no convincing. For me, it's more, let's take a holistic approach to your life. Let's look at it through a compassionate lens and not, excuse me, a judgmental lens.
Yeah.
It's just a rechecking in, like you would check anything after several years, like, how are we doing? Um, and and just have that approach, and people are like, "Oh, yeah, I could definitely clean and clear out that storage unit that I'm paying for every month. I don't even know where the key is." Like, I can do those things. I can make some subtle shifts so that I can get my energy back. And, so there's really no convincing. It's just like literally, um, really nurturing that person in front of me. From where I've been, I know what it takes to create space, to create that quiet, so that again you can create from your soul. And that is really the whole purpose of my work. So that you're not saying yes to things that are just distractions, that you're actually saying yes to the things that you really, really want to say yes to.
Yeah.
I know that in the past, anyone from the outside looking in would have said, "Oh, this is a great opportunity." I had a very, very well-known spiritual teacher approach me, wanting to be on her team. This was probably 8 or 9 years ago. And at first, it would have been like, "Oh my God, yes!" Like that would have been a dream job. But I took that to the Labyrinth one day. And I prayed on it and I just said, "Is this really a yes?" And as I circled around and got to the center and got really, really quiet with myself, it was a clear no.
Mm.
And it shocked me, and those are the things that I guess you're confronted with instead of like negative things when you're alone. You're confronted really with the truth of how you want to live this life.
Yeah.
So it was an easy no. And looking back now, of course, it was the obvious of a no. But at the time, it was a little confronting. But these are the important decisions that you're going to have clear guidance on when you do get quiet. And it's a true gift to be able to hear you in your intuition, especially when the noise of the world has gotten so loud that you've lost the sense of to be able to do that. And for a woman, that could feel very disorienting. So go find a labyrinth. Go find a It will change your life in ways you can't even imagine.
Well, I talk about it in terms of like, so my good friend Kira Brinton, I just actually talked to my guest the other day about this as well, but she's a publisher, Joan of Arc
Right.
Publishing, and she helps.
Very well.
Yeah, yes. So she was talking about AI and how AI is coming along to the point that now we're not going to have any more thought leaders because AI is taking over all of our own thoughts. So to the point where just like, say, typing on a typewriter or using 10 key, no one knows how to do that anymore. That's a skill that's now long gone because we type like this or whatever, right? So for her, saying AI is taking over the thought leaders and no one's going to be able to write a book, it's all just going to be AI done, is the same as what's happened to women in our intuition, I believe. It's like for me as a mother going to WebMD instead of just stopping, looking at what I know as a mother with my child. Okay, I know, put a cool compress or whatever. This is a fever. This isn't too bad, whatever. Instead of just jumping to the internet instantly and saying, what am I looking at here? And getting, you know, who knows what back, or listening to advice on the internet of things in my relationship or with parenting or whatever, which I'm not saying that. I'm saying mentors and coaches are important for things, but not to the point where we're absolutely just shutting down the gifts that we have in us that make us special, that help us in those situations, right? And I think that getting quiet is exactly what you're saying. It allows those beautiful gifts, those wonderful intuitive uh, parts of us become louder. Obviously, if you have two things screaming, right, and you're surrounding it with all of this other noise, you can't hear. You can't hear. You have to decide what you want to hear. And if it's all the noise from social media, all the noise from your clutter, all the noise from what you're saying, all of these things, you're not going to hear the things that are really, truly important. And that's right here, right?
100%. I'm not fearful about much of anything, especially AI. Um, I don't want to ever live in a fear state. I live in a creative state most of the day. That's just the choice that I see the world, my reality around, because I know that I have the power to create. And I think that we were born with an energy that I call a soul. It's an energy that we can't see, but we can totally feel it when we connect with it. And when we connect with the energy of our soul, I believe that's what's missing in our lives. That's what was missing in my life. When we actually connect with that, we will be our own spiritual leaders, always.
Mhm.
And even though there will be AI, we still will always be in a human to human contact. And when we can share that light of our soul with one another and be our own spiritual leaders for ourselves, and there's no replacing that. We're still human. Um,
Yeah.
don't don't get too fearful about AI.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm not scared of it. I'm just saying exactly what you're saying is I maybe the more prominent that those things become, the more we will tune in to our own, energy and our own, like you're saying, your soul. You more because we will be missing it from these whatever comes of it. We will be missing it. It's not a fearful thing. It's yeah, exactly what you're saying. Imagine, because think of these online communities. They're incredible. They are wonderful. They scratch an itch, right? But when you get in person with someone, when you get these groups together in real life, in person, that energy that you're all giving each other when you go to a retreat, when you go to an event, when you go to a conference, when you go to a cooking class, when you go to anything that is all of you coming together in real life, it's it's magnified from what you can do on a screen. And that is because of our energy. I can give as much as I can give through this. But like I said, when we very first started, it's not the same that you're going to get of me. People that meet me in real life would not appreciate, oh, oh, this is Gina in real life. It's not podcast Gina because it's a totally different energy, even though it's not. It's my same energy, but it's not translating through an online the way that it translates in person.
That's right. And I would love to hang out with you in person. It's I can feel your light. I can feel how light you are. I can also feel the connection that you have with your truth and your soul. Because there's a freedom, there's a light energy, there's a playfulness with people when you meet them in that state. And I honor that about you and for having done some deep work, obviously, not some, probably a ton of deep work
Right.
to get to that state. And I think in terms of like, let's just say the word prevention, if we are worried about, the next 10 years of what's ahead, digitally, like this is the deep work to do now before you actually start to give away the power that we're talking about. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work of getting quiet and walking these paths that I talk about in the book, because this is what you will need in these times to thrive in these times, not just mentally, emotionally, but physically, um, to stay healthy in these times and to stay in a state that feels true to you, so that you don't lose your mind.
Right. Oh my
And
heck, yes.
so, I feel like this work, even though I wrote this book a couple of years ago, the publishing route, as you know, is slow when you do go through traditional publishing. It's more relevant now than when I wrote it. And it feels like it's just starting to even be more and more relevant with the push for AI to take over this power from humans.
With my forever question will be always, I'm always asking this of myself. I'm always asking it of my husband. I ask it on probably to every one of my guests who are in this kind of a category of trying to now influence and enlighten other people, right? How do you, I don't think the words encourage, I don't think the words force, but I'm just gonna say it the way Gina would say it. How do you make people understand that if they would just do this thing, if they would just get quiet, if they would just tune in, right, that their life will be better? I mean, that's such a brash way of saying it, but to not mince words. I mean, really, that's my whole thing is just do what I say, okay? Please, just do what I say. I promise. Just but you, as you know, people are people and they are going to do what they're going to do. I can't go to the gym and do crunches for someone to give them a six pack. I can't read a book for someone and they automatically are influenced by it. I can't. We can't do the work for someone else. But I love, and I'm sure you do as well, I love so much what I've discovered from doing these small, simple things that are not so seemingly small and simple in the beginning, but once you do them for long enough, they just happen on their own, right? But it's like if you could just start implementing these things, just watch. Be patient with yourself. Just watch. Be mindful. Be intentional, right? And just watch. Give yourself grace.
Yeah, and I think that, to be a compassionate messenger like yourself is a great start to inspiring women. Obviously, the first rule of being a life coach is, for me, is meet people where they're at.
Right.
And, and out of experiences of literally countless retreat participants walking a labyrinth, every single one of them has heard a message. And then after that, whether it's that same day, whether it's in a dream, whatever the synchronicity may be after, convinces them
Right.
that there's something more that's going to help my life. It's the unseen, and it's hard to show people the unseen when you can't
Yeah.
see it.
Right.
Um, when you do, it's game over. You've convinced them that there's a guidance there that they've disconnected from that's really important, and this is how I'm going to, get it, and this is how I'm going to continue to have it in my life. And what do you value? I mean, I think that's the key question to ask anyone, and we go over values at my retreats. What do you value in your life? For me, it's inner peace. There's nothing that will ever get in the way of my inner peace. And I work hard at it. And so everyone has different values, and it's just a really fun process to get a person on the right track again. And a lot of times we feel lost uh, and busy, but now it's the time to get back on track to what makes you joyful and what makes you
Yeah.
feel peace.
Absolutely. I think that everybody, I think we just take ourselves so seriously. Honestly. I think if you could get to the bottom of what the thing is that keeps people stuck, it's that honestly we just take it all too seriously. I mean, really, if you get these women who feel undeserving, like you said, it's your birthright. I love that you said that. So do you know Teresa? If you know Kira, do you know Teresa Ford?
No.
She once said to me, she's writing a book with Kira right now, and she once said to me, and I'm just like, and she said, when we were born, we were celebrated. People cheered, people celebrated. The room was full of love and happiness and joy. And you think about that with a new baby. You're just like, everything is just the happiest it will ever be, right? And what did this baby do? It wasn't out doing grocery shopping. It wasn't out cleaning cars. It wasn't picking up kids. It wasn't dropping kids off at baseball games. It wasn't, this baby breathed. That is literally all this baby did to be celebrated and to have such joy surrounding it.
That's
So
so good.
why do we feel like we are so undeserving if we're not crossing off all of these things, this checklist of supposed to's, to be celebrated, to be deserving? You're just here breathing. It's your birthright. You deserve it, right?
It's really, really beautiful.
Yeah. She blew my mind. I loved it. Chills. Oh, so how do you, let's get back to some of these questions. We've actually, I'm like kind of going through them and you're just flowing beautifully through my questions without me even asking them. It's wonderful. How do you personally balance ambition with contentment? With you're pursuing growth, but yet you're still honoring the quiet and the peace.
Well, ambition has changed for me in midlife. I wouldn't say that I have the ambition that I had
Right.
10, 15 years ago, because that ambition now is more, it's a peaceful way to create. It's a more grounded way to create. There's no force. There's no having to prove anymore. So, I mean, those are the gifts that happen in midlife, and yeah. So there's already a balance there when I've shifted the need to have a forceful, like successful outcome versus just feeling very peaceful and satisfied with a journal entry that um, you know comes through me in a channeled state, and I reread it and I go, "Wow, that's really beautiful." Send that out in an email. I mean, there's just no force. There's I've I'm more into cultivating wisdom. I'm more into cultivating inner peace, and creating from those places have been a profound experience, one that has created a published book with one of the top 5, book publishers in the world. I never saw that coming, but I trusted what I was hearing. I trusted where I was being guided to. I kept writing, even though what was coming through felt very woo-woo.
Hmm.
But it all turned out, and I would just say the trust the inner voice that's guiding you, even though it will sound crazy. I do believe that God's plan is so much better and bigger than yours, and I surrendered to that. I surrendered to that, and
Hmm.
um, I stopped sabotaging myself, saying I wasn't smart enough, I'm not good enough, because those were all the stories as a kid. Um, and I said, no, that's not true. Um, you can do this. You can do this. And I stuck with it. It took me many years to develop this work and then to write a book and then to get it published. Um, and I would have given up several times, but I didn't. I didn't. I trusted what I heard in the quiet.
I come back to that quite often when I put things back on, when I put accountability back on my members especially, but the women I talk to is especially because they are mostly religious women, right? And they have their beliefs and their faith. And I say, what makes you think that you know better than what's planned for you? Right? We have so much of this like, I have to control. I have to control. Well, what are you controlling? Like, I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. How can I have this like, I have to control tomorrow when I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow? So, or like for women who are feeling stuck, we'll say, feeling stuck in a place in their life, feeling stuck with maybe a toxic friendship relationship, or maybe the toxic marriage, or maybe the career they don't actually love. They feel drained rather than fulfilled. And it's like, why do you feel so attached to these things that are hurting you, draining you, right? Bringing up all of this negativity for you, causing you maybe physical illness or harm, when you can't see what is planned for you. You have no idea what's coming, but why are you clinging so hard to these? Like these are the things that will get you to this mystical, mythical future. Does that make sense? It's like if I can help you understand that you at some point have to believe that there's a path here, but the things that are happening as you're going on this path don't necessarily mean cling to this path. They mean this was put here to maybe help you build resilience in getting off this path right here. Or this was put here to maybe help strengthen your self-love because you can get out of a toxic relationship and you know that you love yourself more than that. This was put, your path isn't A to Z straight line. These things are put where they are in our lives and I just say, to what end, right? What are you clinging on and holding on to these things so hard for? Like the women that say, I can't slow down. I'm too busy. It's like, what are you clinging to? What to what end? What is making sure your kids are in 5 different sports this summer? What's that going to do for you 5 years down the line? I don't know that there was a question in there.
I love the aspect of control because the need to control everything around us is really a very heavy hold. I once had a coach even tell me, she's like, "You're not a know-it-all, you're a hold-it-all."
You have a part about that, about holding on to even memories, holding on to.
Yes, I do. I have that chapter environment. It's like I was a memory hoarder, and it was hard for me to throw out, anything, not throw out and donate, things that I just didn't need in my environment that was, sucking and taking up energy. Uh, but it's this concept of holding, and it really hit me in my heart that day. I was like, oh my God, yes, I am a hold it all. And that's what's weighing heavy on me. And in fact, I took that to Labyrinth, and it really was like, it just said surrender. That was the message. And surrender isn't like, waving the white flag like you give up. It's
No.
literally a conscious choice to say, I cannot control everything. I cannot control everyone. I have to trust that people are going to make right decisions for themselves. And the only thing I can do is control how I respond to the outside world.
Right.
And that's really what I hear you saying is just like there's so much of control, like making sure your kids are in all these activities. And um, it's like, no, I realized that my kids are individuals with their own soul's journey. And I'm not here to control, I'm here to guide in a very loving way. Um, and that's been my approach to parenting.
Yeah, luckily I've had, uh, for me personally, I've had travel that I can fall not even fall back on, but like my kids can't be in certain things, right? We're out of the country. It's not even an option. But I've given them the choice when it has been an option. Because I remember when I was a first new mom with my first two boys, and it was like, oh, he's old enough to go to preschool? Okay, go to preschool. That's what you're supposed to do. Even if he's 3, right? It's like, oh, he's smart. He's old enough to go to preschool. He's potty trained. Put him in preschool. That's what you're supposed to do. Or what's the first soccer that's so adorable but painful to watch? And they're what, like 5? Oh, he's 5 now. He can go into this soccer. He can do this. This is what you're supposed to do, right? And I look back on those things and I think, just like what you're saying, I didn't ask my children. I forced them. This was my job to make sure that he was 5 and he was in soccer, he was in tennis, he was in swimming. It was like, he's 5. He just wants to go sit in the dirt and play with his dinosaurs. He doesn't care what we're doing. He literally would probably just want to sit on my lap and snuggle me, is honestly what it is. But I'm sitting here thinking, if I don't give him all of these things that he can choose from, he's going to be a horrible human being, right? But then luckily I had things happen in my life that forced me to look into myself, and it just happened to happen with them. And now it's like I ask my other kids, I'm like, do you want to do that? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, we don't need to do it. Rather than looking at, but these people, like, we're supposed to be doing this. You're at this age, we're supposed to be doing it. I just check in with them. They say no or they say yes, and it's okay. But there's so much peace in that. And it's happened, I think you would agree with this, it's happened at different times in my life, these aha moments. It's like when things finally align with, like, when your values finally align in certain places in your life. And it's like not all at once. It's not like when women come into my community and they're like, okay, I want to be this better version of myself today. And it's like, I'll see you in 3 years and see how we feel about this. But mine, I mean, the shifts have been happening since, I mean, forever, but really intentional shifts have been happening since 2011, right? That's a lot of time for things to finally, like, oh, you know, how do you help women appreciate that there is so much time involved in getting to feeling peaceful? I mean, you're going to feel it, obviously, because that's what keeps you addicted to doing the thing, to keep chasing this, get quieter, slow down more, because it's starting to click. But how do you help women appreciate that it's going to take some time?
Well, it took you a lot of time to get to a dysregulated state.
Yeah.
So how do we unwind you in a
That
in a
that's like saying to women, it takes 9 months to create this baby and grow this baby. Now it's going to take 9 months to get your body back, and no woman wants to hear this.
Yeah, but I also think that we're smart enough to know that there's no quick fix, and
Yeah.
that you can actually enjoy the journey to health, to wellness, because we love information. We love new knowledge. Um, we soak it up as women, because we know it helps us. We know it helps our kids. We know it helps our communities. And so I really do think that women are soaking up this information and applying it in a way that suits them. I go back to my method, and I love the way the book's laid out, because you can go back to each chapter and just say, oh, and I think I want to revisit that one path about cleaning and clearing out my environment, or that one path about healing my emotions. We are intuitive enough to know that this doesn't have to be difficult, that we can just take one tiny action a week, and know that we're going to feel good immediately having done it. This doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to feel heavy. It's not meant to feel heavy. It's meant to connect you to yourself. It's meant to connect you to your inner guidance, because that is what has been missing. It's very simple.
So that's actually, again, you rolled right into my question here is if we could have one of our listeners today walk away with just first step, one first step, one change to make today, what would you want that to be for them?
I'm going to just go with what is in my heart. Go take yourself on a date. And
I love that you said that.
yes, and nobody else can go with you, and see where your soul takes you, because that will be the first step of guidance. If you end up going to an art gallery, if you end up going to a concert, if you end up going on a hike, like, your soul wants to tell you and guide you and show you the next step ahead. Don't get too far down the bend, because that's when fear arises. I remember taking a year of what I called out of the box challenge.
Right.
And I did something new for 12 months. So 12 different things, because I needed to re-engage in life again after my divorce. And it's just a great way to feel alive again. And I was like, oh, and so for 12 months, I did one thing that felt a little uncomfortable, or maybe just one thing that I've always wanted to do. And after that year, Gina, I had a new career. I had met my fiance, and I had started a whole new life just because I took myself on a date one day, and I just fell in love with hearing the guidance of, like, oh, go do this now. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And trust what the universe brings to you. Trust what God's putting in your path. Like something that you would, again, the control, something that you might never have before thought, oh, that's not for me. I said that about Alaska. I said that, I love that you said that. The reason why is because my guest I interviewed yesterday, Carla Olson, she's incredible. She writes a book about almost empty nesting. So she's preparing women for the not empty nesting, because you have to start preparing before. So it's the almost empty nester. But anyway, and we were talking about you've got to date yourself. You have got to connect again with who this woman is, because I'm not going to be all of a sudden my kids are gone and I'm 20-year-old Gina that likes to go to the club. That's not the same person. So what am I going to do? Okay, do I like cooking classes? Do I want to learn a new language? Do I want to play an instrument? I don't know, because I don't know this Gina. I only know the Gina before kids, and that's not what I want anymore. But I used the example of coming to Alaska for the first time. We've been coming here for years and years and years. And the very first time, pre-kids, my husband said, let's go fishing in Alaska. And I was like, why would you ever think that's something I would want to do? And we came up here and I was like, wow, Alaska is my soul state. Like it's where I feel very connected and very aligned and very grounded in who I, Gina, actually am, right? I feel very comfortable here. I don't feel forced, right? Some people love the beach. Some people love to be on the beach in the ocean, and that feels forced to me. That feels like I don't love that, right? And these are the things that you learn, but I would have never done that had he not said, yeah, we're doing this, right? If I would have pushed against that, I would have never learned that. So I I love that you said that. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's so beautiful. And I 100% agree to being open to those kinds of things and trusting yourself and allowing yourself, being curious and those things. But thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really enjoyed our conversation. I really enjoyed your book. And like I said, I will continue to, we're using it. We're going to be using it as one of our monthly topics in the Revitalized Sisterhood. But I will continue to share it with people because it was so powerful for me. Like I said, in the first 10 minutes, you had me. You had me hooked.
Well, thank you so much, Gina, for having me. I have loved our conversation. And of course, when any creative puts art into the world, like I did with this book, and it's well received, it really does warm my heart, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.